Happy Haitian History Month, Haitian Heritage Month. See a lot of good friends here.
I heard that everybody will be getting a care package from you.
Okay.
Haïti chérie, di bon pays passé ou nan point. Faut moi te quitter ou moi te capable comprendre valeur. Faut moi te laisser ou moi te capable apprécier. Pour me sentir vraiment tout ça ou payer pour moi. Haïti chérie, di bon pays passé ou nan point. Faut moi te quitter ou moins t'es capable de comprendre valeur. Faut moins te laisser, ou moins t'es capable d'apprécier. Pour me sentir vraiment tout ça ou payer pour moi. Un bon soleil, bon rivière et bon breuvage. Papier bois, ou tout loin pour l'ombrage. Un bon petit vent, ou pas ou bon petit fraîcheur. À la pays, oh, Haïti chérie, et bon pays passé ou non point. Faut moins te quitter ou moins t'es capable de comprendre valeur. Faut moins te laisser ou moins t'es capable d'apprécier. Ou sentir vraiment tout ça ou t'es pour moi. L'Orlan pays blanc, où est toute fille qui ont seule couleur. Dans le point milatresse, belle marabout, belle fond créole, qui remet belle robe, bon poulet, bon odeur. Haïti chérie, c'est un pays qui bénit. Haïti chérie, et bon pays passé ou non point. Faut moins te quitter, ou moins t'es capable de comprendre valeur. Faut moins te laisser, ou moins t'es capable d'apprécier. Pour me sentir vraiment tout ça ou payer pour moi. Haïti chérie, et bon pays passé ou non point. Faut moins te quitter, ou moins t'es capable de comprendre valeur. Faut moins te laisser, ou moins t'es capable d'apprécier. Ou sentir vraiment tout ça ou payer.
C'est moi, Héritage Haïtien, nous dit tout le monde bienvenue. Et c'est pour nous en plus joie que vous là avec nous. Comme vous apprenez le programme là, nous gagnons et célébration ça pour une deuxième fois et célébration Héritage Haïtien de manière virtuelle. This is the second time that we're having Haitian Heritage Month, a virtual celebration of the Haitian Heritage Month. and we're glad to have you here. We'll start with the Haitian national anthem. My name is Bodi Omisil. I'm a family resource specialist for Boston Public Schools, and I'm glad to have you. Welcome to have you tonight. Welcome to you all. We will start with the national anthem, as I said, to briefly continue with the program. I want to just present, apologize to you all. You know, technology, sometimes we have some issues that everything has been taken care of, and we will be having a great time celebrating our culture, our music, our dance, and we will have a great moment with Steve DeRose, who will definitely give us present the life of King Henri Christophe, Roi Christophe. Again, thank you all for being here. Let's celebrate.
Pour Haïti, pays, son seigneur, c'est pour marcher, mais dans la mer, dans le temps parfait, pour guérir, nous fait pour s'aimer, nous marcher. Mais dans la mer pour Haïti, ta vie plus belle. En nous, peut-être ensemble. Pour Haïti, oh non, tous ancêtres. Pour Haïti.
Non, c'est William Auguste. C'est un membre Haitian Americans United Inc., HAU, télépatriote et télécréole. Je voyais une salutation patriotique à nous toutes qui regardons nous là. Je voyais une salutation ça dans le cadre. Non, c'est William Auguste. Moi, c'est un membre Haitian Americans United Inc., HAU, télépatriote et télécréole. Je voyais une salutation patriotique à nous toutes qui regardons nous là. Je voyais une salutation ça dans le cadre de célébration 218e anniversaire fête drapeau nous et célébration tout mois de mai comme Mwa Eritaj Ayisyen. C'est une célébration de l'histoire nous, culture nous et contribution nous dans le monde entier. Mois de mai, c'est un grand mois pour nous-mêmes Haïtiens. 1er mai, c'est jour de travail à l'agriculture en Haïti. 15, 16, 17 mai, c'est congrès à Kayet, côté toute mulatio avec Noir, qui fait tête ensemble pour combattre l'esclavage et pour l'indépendance du pays d'Haïti. 18 mai, c'est création de drapeau nous et c'est jour universitaire. 20 mai, c'est naissance Toussaint Louverture. Et dernier, dimanche mois de mai, c'est fête toute maman haïtienne. Nous commençons à célébrer le mois de mai dans Boston officiellement en 1999. C'est moi-même, avec Charles Lucien et professeur Oreste Joseph qui commençaient la célébration ça dans Télé Créole. Et je ne dis pas, c'est dans pile ville côté haïtien qui a fêté le mois de mai et c'est une continuation faite drapeau. En pile officiel, tant que maire, gouverneur, sénateur, député, une proclamation pour reconnaître le mois de mai comme Mwa Eritaj Ayisyen. Nous avons monté drapeau, parade, conférences, expositions, festivals, etc. dans plusieurs villes dans les États-Unis. C'est une célébration pour faire connaître l'histoire, nous, culture, nous, contribution nous dans le monde. C'est une célébration pour nous manifester patriotisme, nous, qui c'est l'amour nous gagnons pour pays nous et pour communauté côté nous vivre là. C'est une célébration tout pour faire tête ensemble pour le développement. On célébrer mois de mai, mais on démontrer patriotisme ça, pas seulement pendant le mois de mai, mais chaque jour et quel que soit côté nous. Bonne fête, Mwa Eritaj Ayisyen, bonne fête drapeau, Kemela.
Greetings, I'm Kim Janey, Mayor of Boston. Happy Haitian Heritage Month. This month, we celebrate the rich and cultural and historic contributions of Haiti and its diaspora in the United States. Boston is home to the third largest Haitian community in America. We value our residents of Haitian descent, not just this month, but every month. And we also thank our Haitian first responders and our Haitian essential workers for your tireless efforts. In the words of anti-slavery abolitionist Frederick Douglass, a former U.S. Consul General to Haiti, we should not forget the freedom you and I enjoy today is largely due to the brave stand taken by the Black sons of Haiti, striking for their freedom. They struck for freedom for every Black man in the world. Piti, piti, na vancé.
Thank you. Now we would like to introduce our OER Assistant Superintendent, Daphne Germain, who will address in a few words. Again, I want to welcome you all to celebrate with us our culture, our dance, our music. Haitian Heritage Month, it is huge in the Haitian community. This morning we had our flag, the ceremony of flag raising in front of the City Hall in Boston. And before the end of the event tonight, you will know about several other activities that are taking place in the city of Boston and also within Boston Public School. So this is our first event of a series of 3 events to celebrate Heritage Month. We'll have the next one on the 21st of May and the third one on the 27th of May at the same time, 6 to 8. Now I'll pass the mic to Daphne Germain. And again, welcome you. I would like to I welcome you and thank you for being with us. Merci tout le monde parce que nous là, c'est le moment pour nous passer Mayan by Daphne Germain, c'est assistant superintendant au niveau office pour élèves capables en anglais. C'est deuxième événement que nous gagnons comme ça, côté que nous célébrons pour nous héritage haïtien et de manière virtuelle. Et tout le monde qui est déjà là, nous disons merci. Nous allons continuer à inviter l'autre monde pour qu'on rejoigne nous encore. Daphne, nous passons Mayan.
Salutations, bonsoir à tout le monde qui est branché ensemble avec nous à Soyan. C'est un plaisir pour moi-même de capable là ensemble avec nous. Thank you everyone who has come this evening to connect with us online to celebrate our Boston Public Schools second annual Haitian Heritage Month. We are utterly grateful, first and foremost, to the community that entrusts us with their children to be able to educate them, to our colleagues who work within us in Boston Public Schools during this time of COVID pandemic, who have faithfully served our community and our children, and also to those in our community, our champions, our stakeholder groups, who continue to walk along with us to be able to let our communities know how valued they are. C'est un privilège pour moi-même capable là ensemble avec vous après-midi ça, pour moi capable dire en faveur de Boston Public Schools bienvenue et pour nous bailler salutations à parents yo qui fait nous confiance pour nous capable instruire moun yo, à professeurs nous yo, administrateurs nous yo dans Boston Public Schools malgré nous subir et vent Covid là, mais ensemble Jean que Kim Jenny dit na petit n'a avancé pour nous capable faire travail dans marché et aussi nous dit merci à vous même qui fait partie de communauté qui viennent ensemble avec nous. Jean-Baudy dit, mon nom, moi, c'est Daphné Germain, moi, c'est assistant surintendant dans Boston Public Schools. Moi, c'est premier haïtienne qui chita dans poste ça. Et devise nous et désir nous, c'est pour nous capables continuellement assurer que programme que nous gagnons comme Toussaint l'ouverture académique qui est situé dans Madahatna, pour des petits nous apprendre en deux langues, anglais et créole, que programme ça est capable là, pas seulement pour Haïtiens, mais aussi pour toute notre communauté dans Boston, côté n'a célébrer langue et culture. As shared, my name is Daphne Germain. I am of Haitian descent, the Assistant Superintendent of the Office of English Learners, one of the first of Haitian descent to sit in this role. And the vision that we have within the Office of English Learners is a continued celebration of language and culture of our children and all the immigrant groups and communities in the city of Boston. Just as we had launched the Haitian dual language program at the Madahunt Toussaint Louverture Academy, the goal is to continue to open up more opportunities for the children in the communities in the city of Boston. Today, we hope that you will enjoy Steve Desrosiers, who participated with us last year to do the first Haitian Heritage Month celebration and provided some wonderful lessons learned about the Haitian history and how we impact the global community. And I look forward to the second half. And I say to everyone who is here today, thank you so much to Bodhi and the OEL team for putting this together.
Thank you, Daphne, and I would like to introduce Dr. Joel Gabo from IFSI, and right after Dr. Joel Gabo will introduce the IFSI performance or musical group in a beautiful performance. Dr. Gabo, est-ce que vous pouvez présenter pour nous IFSI aujourd'hui, et nous connaissons une très belle présentation que vous avez fait en musique.
Bonsoir, Bodhi. Hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to be with you today as we celebrate, the Haitian Flag Day. And as you can see, the office is really all about Haiti. We are so pleased to share with you some of the skills that our students are learning about their culture using music. We use music to educate them about their culture and to keep them connected. So throughout the day today, in the celebration, we'll see some of their performances here. And we are from the Immigrant Family Services Institute, known as IFSI. And we work with so many partners, the Haitian American United, Q-Line Center, and other organizations to really support our youth, support our children, and so that they can stay connected. So it's such a pleasure to be with you, and I know that you will be seeing some of the videos soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gabo.
Donc, qui fait que nous avons fait meeting ça jeudi, c'est parce que l'une des choses qu'on a essayé de développer, c'est de développer connexion pour nous-mêmes qui dans le pays, qui peut-être fait partie d'un network qui connaît exactement qui sorte de talent que nous gagnons, qui sorte de ça nous apprendre en Haïti. Et l'une des choses qui est bon, c'est que quel que soit sorte apprendre, non? Give me 1 quick second. Mute.
Bonsoir tout le monde, moi-même c'est Léonica Pierre-Mentus, actrice, réalisatrice et autrice de Nord en Nord. Je profite de l'occasion ça pour nous souhaiter nous toutes un bon mois de mai et spécialement à l'école publique de Boston, un bon mois héritage. J'aime parler d'héritage, je voulais parler de culture en nous. Nous tous connaissons culture, peuple, c'est identité. J'aime parler de héritage, je voulais faire référence à belle histoire ça que nous gagnons. Je ne peux pas parler de l'histoire sans pas citer non Catherine Flon, qu'aucune chaîne femme ça, femme jam ça, qui te coup drapeau nous. Drapeau nous, blé rouge ça, qui se fierté de côté de passé, nous lever en l'air pour montrer emblème nous. Je ne peux pas parler de l'histoire sans pas citer non Christophe Pétion, Dessalines, Capois la mort, Claire Heureuse, Marie-Jeanne et toutes ancêtres nous yo, qui te bail sang yo, qui te bail corps yo, qui te bail nam yo pour te faire de nous premier peuple noir indépendant sous la terre. Bon mois mai et bon mois héritage en nous. Bonsoir tout le monde, moi-même.
Hi everyone, my name is Ruthie Lejeune and I am Haitian American, a proud graduate of our Boston Public Schools and an attorney and advocate, and I'm a candidate for Boston City Council at large. I just want to wish everyone at Boston Public Schools a happy Haitian Heritage Month. May you all take the time to learn more about Haitian history and be proud of our very rich heritage and everything that we've offered the world. So happy Haitian Heritage Month. Make sure you rock the flag and have a good month. Thank you. Bye. Hi, everyone.
Bonsoir tout le monde, nom c'est Motled Alexis et je suis très content pour me là avec nous à soir. Je souhaite que nous enjoy le programme. Occasion à DJ en wedding, en mariage Boston, occasion à DJ en fête Boston, occasion à entraîner basketball pour Boston Latin Academy High School, ou bien occasion à travailler dans la State Street Bank Boston en finance. Je suis très content, je suis fier que mon gradué de l'école publique Boston et puis tradition ça là toujours qu'elle a célébré héritage haïtien chaque mois de mai pour tout mois. On apprend des cultures, des expressions haïtiennes et histoire haïtienne. Ce que nous avons des traditions haïtiennes vivant dans la famille, nous que la monté de nous créole, n'a pas quitté de nous manger bon cuisine haïtienne, bon cuisine créole et puis que nous faisons fiers d'apport haïtien Haïti. C'est la levé d'apport ça fort bien haut, et puis changer que l'union fait la force. Bonsoir tout le monde, nom c'est
ensemble nous te mettez pour nous te faire drapeau ça qui c'est symbole liberté. Nous fin créer drapeau ça. C'est mieux pour nous mettre, pour nous combattre ennemis invisibles ça, qui c'est coronavirus. Moi-même, Catherine Flon, m'a demandé nous appliquer même formule là. Qui c'est propre, laver main, respecter distance.
Moi-même, moi c'est Haïti. Quand les enfants yo, rassemblez. Tomber sonner dans toute habitation pour nous rassembler les enfants. Aïe! La patrie! Haïti en danger. Maman petite marée vente. Si nous campons bois croisé tant que Saint-Thomas, cabrit a fin manger jardin nous. Après ça, pour nous relayer fermer barrières, là déjà trop tard. Et nous mettre tout chanter en termes. Nous allons bataille! Nous allons so cabrit, nous allons blanc. Mauvais j'ai à tout fait. Pour nous bomber les grands monde moins. Et puis je ne jeudi pour nous quitter division. À dévorer une l'autre. Pour qu'on a ta vie tuer. Moi-même, maman, nous Haïti. M'a demandé pour nous faire tête collée. On prend Dieu ensemble. pour me couper, courir chal baride corona. Si c'est pas ça, la fin casse counou graine pas graine, pile pas pile. Prends de l'eau, prends savon, mettez masque, mettez gants, prends distance. Pour nous sauver maman nous, pour le drapeau, pour la patrie, pour Haïti, Corona ou Axis.
C'est moment et pour nous capter entrer avec histoire nous, gens que nous te prévoir aller dans le programme là et jeudi pour nous gagner avec nous et Steve Desrosiers et qui parle parler nous, qui parle faire un peu d'histoire pour nous. Et nous voulons avant même que nous et passer main by Steve. Steve, I will give you give you the host to help with the presentation. I would like to thank each and everyone for joining the first celebration. As I said it before, it is the first one in a series of 3. Today is the 14th. We will have the next one on the 21st with the participation of the HLCC, Project for Hope, and UFES. And I would like to say thank to HAU, to the OEL team, AFAB, UFES, IFC, NIMA Project for Hope, Haitian educators, Gilbert Albert. I would like to thank Nicole Lenz and each and everyone for your support. We'll have a good time with Steve Desrosiers, who will be presenting the life of Toussaint Louverture.
The life of Henri Christophe.
Henri Christophe. I'm sorry. Life of Henri Christophe, and I can ensure that you will have a great time. Donc, je pense que nous parlons un bon temps avec Steve Desrosiers qui pourra présenter nous sur la vie de roi Henri Christophe. Et je vais faire encore. Et puis, je pense que nous avons gagné un bon temps. Josefina, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, I think you are the one who can give Steve, put him as a host, please.
Okay.
Yes.
You can make me a co-host if you want, if you can.
Of course.
Okay. Done.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So I think we are free to start at this point. Good evening, everyone, and happy Haitian Heritage Month to you all. I am happy to be here with you this evening as one part of the celebration of Haitian heritage. My name is Steve Desrosiers, and I am a member of Boston Public Schools Office of Advancement. And this evening, we're presenting and celebrating the life of one of my heroes and one of Haiti's most cherished and controversial heroes. And we're talking about King Henri Christophe. And it's my hope that you will enjoy my attempt to do justice to his life, his story, and his legacy. This amazing, great hero of the Haitian Revolution. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and start, and I'll try to share my screen right now. Okay. And Bodzi, I just want to check that everything is looking okay on my end. Are you able to see the visuals?
Yes, everything is
looking good so far.
Yes, so far so good.
Excellent. Okay, I apologize to those of you who are.
We can see your notes, Steve.
Oh, how did that happen? Hold on a second. Let me share appropriately. Let me stop sharing so I can choose wisely. Okay, are we good now? I'm going to try to put my notes one more time because I do need them.
Yes.
Are they still visible? Are we all set?
Yes, I think we're all set.
Okay, no notes are showing, right?
We see the note.
The note is still there.
You do?
Yeah. Put it down a little bit more.
Okay.
You might need a
what
second
I'll
screen.
do? I'm thinking there might be a way to have the notes come up without necessarily. Let me stop sharing one more time. We'll make one more attempt, and then what I'll do is. Wait, oh, no, that isn't a way to do it. Okay. All right. So unfortunately, you might have to see my notes a little bit, but hopefully you're getting a full screen. And what I will do is do a little ad-libbing as we roll along. And let me do this as we prepare. I'm going to open a second computer just so I can access the notes on another computer and not have them disturb you as we start here. I apologize for the delay. And okay, I think we should be all set. Okay. So Henri Christophe was born in the Island Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, which was also referred to as St. Kitts and Nevis, to an African mother of Bambara descent and possibly a French or English father who was possibly the plantation owner. On October 6, 1767, St. Kitts had previously been French territory, but at the time of Henry's birth, it was British territory. So young Henry may have grown up speaking basic French and rudimentary English as a boy. Interestingly enough, St. Kitts was also the birthplace of a man who would become one of America's revered founding fathers. And here I'm speaking about Alexander Hamilton. The similarities between these two men are astounding. Alexander Hamilton, who was born on January 11th, 1755, is born out of wedlock, just like Henry. Both men are men of action. They leave home and they leave their parents at an early age. They are both energetic in body and mind. They are entrepreneurial. They are immigrants who are going to make mighty contributions to their adopted nations. They're intellectual, they're revolutionaries, they are abolitionists, they are progressive. They are published and extensively published at that. They're both temperamental. They are both opinionated, aggressive, detail-oriented, micromanagers, loving parents, astute politicians, misunderstood by their peers, and both will eventually die by gunshot wound. Both to date remain standard bearers for their respective countries. And lastly, both would be commemorated in very popular plays that would commemorate and celebrate their contributions and their lives. Christophe was born an inquisitive and argumentative and temperamental, strong and rambunctious, nearly uncontrollable young man with lots of energy. At 7 years old, he was apprenticed to a mason on the estate where he was enslaved. He learned his trade well, but was easily bored and got into mischief, and eventually he proved too much for his teacher. At 11 years old, he was sold to a French naval officer as a bootblack, or boot polisher, and a personal servant on a ship led by First Lieutenant Charles Hector Comte d'Estaing, who was leading 3,200 French troops supported by 800 free and enslaved men of color to support 600 American Continental troops led by General Benjamin Lincoln in Savannah, Georgia. The French, who was King Louis at the time, agreed to support the American cause against the British in 1779. And so these 800 troops from different parts of the Caribbean were known as the Chasseurs Volontaires de Saint-Domingue, or the Volunteer Chasers of Saint-Domingue. So Henry boarded one of 24 ships bound for Savannah, Georgia, to support George Washington's fight against the British. The sailors on the ship gave him his last name, Christophe, since he was from the island of St. Kitts or St. Christopher. He served as a drummer boy during the siege of Savannah and was reportedly wounded during this battle, taking a bullet to the shoulder. The fight was a catastrophe for the Revolutionary Army. The Chasseurs suffered 168 casualties, among whom Christophe was one. 1,000 American and French soldiers were wounded, and Lieutenant D'Estaing lasted exactly 1 week in Georgia and left for Cap Haitien on October 20th, 1779. Christophe left America impressed by the winners of the fight and would remain a fan of King George III and the British as an adult. After the Battle of Savannah, Henri is sold again to a free mulatto this time, a plantation owner in Cap Haitien named Badesh. He's put to work in the kitchen as a scullion, which is basically somebody who's doing the most menial tasks and the worst of the work. Well, Badesh begins to receive news that the quality of Christophe's work is excellent. They receive reports of his neatness, of his energy, and they begin to have him trained as a cook for the plantation. And even at this, Henri excels. He takes to the task of being head cook precisely because it puts him in charge. It requires devotion. It requires exactitude. It requires irascibility. And he loved to yell and order people around. Badesh eventually recommends Christophe to the Hotel de la Couronne, where he was part owner. The hotel was near a site named Clogny, where as many as 15,000 slaves would gather on Sundays to sell their produce from their own gardens. And Christophe begins to mingle with them and to learn and develop his knack for business among them. In his early 20s, he is robust, he's broad-shouldered, he's handsome, and of a yellow-brownish color. He's proud and he's also ambitious. He has an eye as well for the young daughter of a free black shop owner in town. And in addition to kitchen support, he manages the stables of the hotel. He uses his tips to buy horses from the Dominican Republic to sell them in Cap Français. And in short order, he's able to purchase his freedom. In 1790, he also served as part of the local volunteer militia in service of local plantation owners, serving as artilleryman and dragoon, a soldier on horseback who's also adept at fighting on foot, helping to quell slave rebellions and insurrections. So when money was low, he was also known to take part in short excursions into piracy whenever the opportunity arose. So he was certainly quite the hustler. By 1790, the mulatto population in Haiti began to forcefully advocate for their rights. France did grant them political rights after the success of the French Revolution, but Saint-Domingue's whites forcefully denied their mulatto children access to political and high office. And two mulattoes particularly, Vincent Auger and Jean-Baptiste Chavannes, took up arms to defend the mulatto cause in Cap Français. Henry knew Chavannes, who was a soldier with him in Savannah, and who openly advocated joining Blacks in a full struggle for the liberation of all on the island. His partner, Vincent Auger, opposed this. And after both men purchased guns from Charleston, North Carolina, they violently confronted the white planter class of Saint-Domingue to access their rights. Christophe was part of the local militia that was among those who helped defeat these rebels. Chavannes and Auger would both be killed for their efforts, and this event would help usher the start of the Haitian Revolution, where mulatto and Black unfortunately worked on opposite ends. It marks Henry's entry into politics, specifically the politics of slavery, color, and class, as a grown and free Black man in Saint-Domingue. There was a long tradition of slave insurrection in Saint-Domingue. Black, Muslim, and non-Muslims caught in the spiral of the slave trade restlessly fought off servitude and established strongholds in the mountains from which they raided plantations, for food, and to rescue their friends and family. Some of these strongholds hosted free Black communities and had in them children who had never known slavery at all, but were warlike and ready for battle at any time. The early Muslim leaders of these revolts were the precursors and the tutors of the second generation of Blacks who would take up the battle to free all Blacks from bondage in Saint-Domingue. The 700,000 slaves denied weapons by the mulatto Vincent Auger to join a mutual fight took their own chances for total freedom in 1791. And they were led by a Muslim cleric with the nickname Bookman, but the nickname really means bookman, or in Muslim terms, that means man of the book. So this leader was a Muslim scholar, a marabout, a teacher, and a military leader. The cleric Bookman and 9/10 of the enslaved population of the North launched the Haitian Revolution on August 22nd, 1791. It was a revolution where Senegalese, Sudanese, Bantus, Tuareg, Aradas from Dahomey, Nagos, Kiambas, Africans from the Gold Coast, Igbos, who had previously been fighting one another even in Africa, finally joined forces. After the capture and death of the Muslim Bookman, his second-in-command, Jean-François Papillon, successfully led Haiti's rebels under the Spanish flag, threatening to deliver the entire island and its riches to Spain. The French, in a countermove, offered freedom to all slaves who joined them in 1793. Jean-François and his second-in-command, Biassou, refused the offer. But his third-in-command, Toussaint Breda, who would later be known as Toussaint Louverture, joins the French side and turns around and defeats Jean-François and Biassou, causing their exile. Biassou would end up in St. Augustine, Florida, then Spanish territory, and Jean-François headed to Cordova, Spain, and was left to finish his days pretty much destitute by the Spanish government that once generously supported all of the early rebels of the Haitian Revolution. Toussaint assumes supreme leadership of the fight that defeats the Spanish, and this delivers the entire island to the French. He makes himself the sole governor on France's behalf. His chief lieutenant is Dessalines, and a young Henry enters the fray under Toussaint's banner at this time, working as an infantry captain, helping him to recruit and train new recruits, new warriors to further ensure recent successes. And here he is introducing himself on May 20th, 1743. I am Toussaint Louverture. My name is perhaps known to you. I am bent on vengeance. I desire the establishment of liberty and equality in Saint-Domingue. I strive to bring them into being. Unite with us, brothers, and fight with us in the common cause. Your most obedient and humble servant. Toussaint issues the first constitution of Haiti. However, Napoleon comes to power, ending the idealism of the French Revolution that gave political rights to Haiti's mulattoes, and recognized Toussaint as governor. He and his second, the French warrior Leclerc, intend to subdue Haiti and its rebels and return everybody to a state of servitude. Meanwhile, Christophe Starr continues to rise, and eventually he oversees the rebuilding of a host of districts in the north of Saint-Domingue, including the plantation where he was a kitchen-aide as a boy, Habitation Portelance. Toussaint notes the productivity of the plantations under Henri, and he charges him with overseeing the reconstruction of the plantation economy in addition to his duties as a warrior. Henry comes up with the fermage system, a form of serfdom. All plantations would belong to the state. Workers would be tied to the plantations where they were previously enslaved, but they would receive 1/4 or 1/4 of the profits of those lands. 1/4 would go to government, and the soldiers in charge of these plantations would be rewarded with 2/4. Toussaint adopts the system in 1798. The three men destined to lead Haiti to freedom were Toussaint, Jean-Jacques, and Henri. And these three would face off Napoleon's assortment of 21,175 troops of French, Spanish, and Dutch warships. Toussaint would be kidnapped by Leclerc and boarded for France on a ship named Eos with his family. And in leaving, he prophesied that in capturing him, France had only chopped off the trunk of a tree, the roots of which were many and deep, and that the tree would grow again. Dessalines and Christophe by 1804 defeated all forces, all of France's forces, and led the nation to independence. Napoleon's defeat lost France its richest colony and announced the beginning of the end to slavery and slavery throughout the Americas. Napoleon also lost his hopes for conquest on the American mainland, selling the Louisiana territories to American President Thomas Jefferson. And in one lucky swoop, doubling America's size and placing it on a path to rank among the world's superpowers. Dessalines assumes leadership as Haiti's first emperor, but strips the island of foreign-born men of talent, essential for reconstruction. He administers too many campaigns of retribution. He mismanages the nation's finances, and he's eventually assassinated. General Henri Christophe is recognized by all to be the next leader of the nation. However, the mulatto population have other ideas about the type of leadership they want in Saint-Domingue. Okay, at this point, we're going to take a quick break, and I think we'll have Woody come and perhaps treat us to a little music, and then we'll do part 2 of this presentation. We'll look at the softer side of this young man before we delve into his politics. Woody, are you with me?
Yes. Okay. I'm here. We'll be first.
Are we good on time?
Oh, yes.
Wonderful.
Definitely, definitely.
Nous rete sou moun, epi nou tèt an lè, se citadelle la ferrière, pi go fort pays d'Haïti. Papa m'servi ak choual li ya, pou l'aider touriste yo monte nan tèt moun nan. Pou yo ka wè la citadelle la, lè mwen pa gen l'école, parfois m'konan la vel. Papa m'a pou mwen, marché ak Franco, rive nan sentier la citadelle la. Aucune machine pa autorisé montan lè ya. Qui donc, c'est là nous venons chercher touristes. Sous citadelle là, des musiciens qui jouent instrument, qui ont fait avec plante yo jeune dans forêt. Ou est tambour y a joué, et puis garder longueur en conne, avec tambour y a joué. Vous connaissez qui ça m'a pensé là? Différentes formes qui dans instrument musicaux. Moi ouais silène avec sec. Est-ce que vous voyez? Ouais, c'est un bon coup de marché pour arriver dans la tête maintenant. Mais maintenant, des papas m'ont expliqué l'histoire sur comment Mwa Christophe te fait la citadelle la bâtie pour le protéger Haïti. À qui j'ai été obligé de un paquet de monde pour tailler roche en forme brique et puis pour te remonter dans la tête maintenant pour être capable de construire cette citadelle là. C'est la moins pire mais garder citadelle là. Gardez Jean li belle. Les ou garder li là, il semblait roi.
Am I free to resume?
Technical issue. Let's see. Okay.
Boozy.
Yes.
So there's a different share. There's a good
Nous rete sou moun, epi nan tèt an lè, se citadelle la ferrière, pi go fort pays d'Haïti. Papa m'servi ak choual li ya, pou l'aider touriste yo monte nan tèt moun nan. Pou yo ka wè la citadelle la, lè mwen pa gen l'école, parfois m'konan la vel. Papa m'a
So we're now going to look at a softer side of the young man. So he marries Marie David in 1793 on the eve of the heaviest fighting of the revolution. And she's the daughter of free Blacks who are relatively well off. He's often away in battle. He's a man on the run. And as we stated before, when food and money are scarce, he has no problem leading ships into the Caribbean, pirating and raiding for treasure, as it were. But after the death of Dessalines, Henri Christophe expects to be next in line to the line of leadership. But what we'll do now is take a look at him as a father and husband, and to take a little glimpse of this relationship. So here is Marie-Louise David writing to her husband, Madame Henri Christophe, to her dear spouse. It is with pleasure, my dear friend, that I inform you we all enjoy perfect health, with the exception of Victor, who's a little restless. I think it's his teeth. I've been without news of you for several days. If you knew the satisfaction I feel when I receive your letters, you would send them to me every day. I beg you, have the laundry woman hurry with my linen, for I and the children are on the verge of being without any. The sugar you told me to expect has not arrived, and this delay grieves us very much. And here is Christophe talking about his firstborn, Francois Ferdinand, who's born in 1794. Never have I seen a finer baby than my little Francois. He's strong and strapping like me. He recognized me, caught hold of my finger, and smiled. He's my very image. Henry sent his firstborn to be educated in France. Then under Napoleon, before Toussaint was tricked by Leclerc, Napoleon had Francois taken out of school in France and placed in an orphan's asylum in Paris, where the young man died on October 7, 1805, at the age of 11. There's his other son, Jacques Victor Henri, born March 3rd, 1804. He's Henry's youngest child. He's described by his tutor, the American scholar Prince Saunders, as amiable, intelligent, and accomplished, the darling and hope of all good Haitians. The prince, unfortunately, was bayoneted to death at age 16 at Sanssouci Palace in 1820, after the fall of his father's regime. And here is a letter that Christophe sent to his son in 1813 when he was but a 9-year-old. I'm sending you, my dear son, a sample of the grapes from my garden as a mark of affectionate remembrance. I embrace you with all my heart and am your loving father, Henri. Sorry. Here are his daughters, Améthyse Henri Christophe and Anne Atenaire Henri Christophe. I have just seen the doctors, my dear. They tell me daughter Madame Première has a badly coated tongue and is very much out of sorts. You will have her take Senna tomorrow, Sunday, and again on Monday. The physicians will be with you at Sanssouci on Monday afternoon to give her another purge. I told you 18 months ago, dear wife, Madame Première needed to be purged, and you should reproach yourself for not having done it. I reproached you for it, and shall always reproach you for having left it so long. So we can see there's a no nonsense side of Henri's character. Here are some impressions of the tutors who came in from Philadelphia to tutor the young ladies. The princesses differ much in their abilities and dispositions. The elder thinks the difficulty of getting knowledge more than its worth. She was disposed to learn, but listless. The youngest was lively and amiable, with great quickness of apprehension, but was averse of application and careless of improvement. Yet the progress of both was considerable. The girls were taught English, French, composition or writing, and then mathematics. This is Armand Eugène. His birth to a casual mistress at the time of Henri's kingship. And thinking about what title to give him, Henri, in a rare burst of humor, said, I know, Prince de Variété, the Prince of Variety. He's here only because I wanted a change from my wife. Armand was killed with his older half-brother, at the end of his father Henry's reign at Sanssouci Palace. Okay, so now we have a sense of the father and his nature. After the death of Dessalines, Henri Christophe expects to be next in line for leadership of Haiti. He's made president by the leader of the mulatto contingency, Alexandre Pétion, but with very limited powers. And of course, he rejects this. Pétion is elected president of the south of Haiti for a term of 4 years, and Henry is outlawed. Henry goes on the offensive and claims the presidency of the northern portion of Haiti in 1807. He waits for the end of Pétion's 4-year term to propose his leadership again for the entire nation. The mulattoes re-elect Pétion. When he sees the mulattoes have no intention of considering him, he decides to establish a hereditary monarchy in northern Haiti. On June 2nd, 1811, Henri is crowned with these words: Henri, by God's grace and the constitution of the state, King of Haiti, sovereign of La Tortue, La Gonave, and other outlying isles, destroyer of tyranny, regenerator and benefactor of the Haitian nation, creator of her moral, political, martial institutions, first crowned monarch of the New World, defender of the faith, which was the Protestant faith, by the way. He was a fan of the British, founder of the Royal and Military Order of Saint-Henri. Haiti's first monarch is King Henry. His queen is Marie-Louise. His prince is Jacques-Victor Henri. His princesses, Frances and Améstice and Anne Atenaire. The coronation takes place, as we've said, in June 2nd, 1811. And he patterns his court after the English model in offices, in dress, and in etiquette. He gathers a group of exceptionally well-educated advisors around him to run the kingdom. Most of them are mulatto, with a few exceptions, including one African-American scholar who's an abolitionist who was educated in New England, who has ties to Boston, where he was a teacher at the Abiel Smith School for Black students. His name was Prance Sanders. Prance Sanders was Henry's Minister of Education, who supervised his English model system of schools and wound up moving and living the rest of his life in Haiti. But Henri quickly sets up his governing council. There's a Minister of Finance and Interior, a Minister of War, a Foreign Minister, and a royal interpreter. Henry couldn't read, but he had books read to him. He issues the Code Henri, the Code Rural, and his fermage system. He strictly regulates commerce and agriculture and policing and the military. He requires neat dress and sets severe penalties for theft. He has inspectors who supervise every district to ensure the schedule for cultivation is followed. And this quickly enriches his kingdom. He breaks up state land to sell to workers who want to own land. He has his own navy. His navy is officered by English captains who use it to intercept any ships that are trying to supply the southern part of Haiti or his mulatto competitors in Port-au-Prince. He drills his army constantly, insisting on the mastery of difficult maneuvers, strict observance of regulations, and they had to submit to constant reviews. Christophe took pleasure in reviewing his troops, especially before visiting European nobility, who took note of the discipline and the skill of his soldiers. To develop commerce and welcome diplomacy, the diplomacy of foreign powers, he establishes 3 royal printing facilities to issue pronouncements to world leaders. He sends a manifesto to all neutral nations, extending protection, housing, hospitality to all who want to take advantage of the overflowing produce of his kingdom's plantations. The British take huge advantage of this. He defends Haiti's sovereignty as a condition for dealing in any way with Napoleon's successor, Louis XVII. Christophe's trade relations with America are strained as a result of an incident where he invested large sums of money with the Baltimore banking operation of Von Kapf and Broom for the purchase of goods that were never delivered. this happened regularly with Toussaint as well, when he was in power. So when the opportunity presented itself, Henry took possession of $125,000 worth of American goods at one of his docks, telling the American merchants they could seek redress with the banking firm back in Baltimore. So here we take a look at his rural code, the rural schedule for which he would be both revered and disliked. So Saturday is a holiday and workers can tend to their personal fields. On Sunday is the day of relaxation and religious observance. On weekdays, everyone is up at 3 a.m. to rise for breakfast. By 4:30 a.m., all laborers are assigned to their plantations. There is an 8 to 9 a.m. food break. From 9 a.m. to noon, work resumes. From 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., there is lunch and rest. From 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., work resumes. And there are end day prayers at 7 p.m. where everybody can return home. Workers, of course, get 25% of the gross earnings of the plantations. The plantation owners are expected to provide housing, weekly medical checkups, and food. And the military oversees strict enforcement of the system. Now, Haiti had no currency at the time that Henri came to the throne. So what this young man did was he saw that Africans were in the habit of using gourds all the time for bowls and utensils and bottles. So they were indispensable for daily life, but they were out and they broke frequently. So he confiscated all the gourd plants on the island, on his half of the island. And when the farmers brought produce from their personal fields to him, he would pay them in goods. And then he would sell off this produce to other countries for gold. And this gave Haiti a growing, stable currency, at least his half of Haiti, a growing and stable currency. And even today, the term that we use for Haiti's money is the goud. So now you guys know where that came from. Henry regretted most of all his lack of education and made use of every opportunity to access those who had it. His friends were doctors like his personal physician, Duncan Stewart, who was a Scotsman, mathematician, M.J. Moore of London, abolitionists who stretched from America to London, including the likes of Thomas Clarkson. And with them, he sought counsel on his many, many plans for his kingdom. So he wanted a school in every district and made schooling mandatory for boys and girls. Truancy was severely punished by a week's confinement on bread and water. He corresponds with abolitionists like Wilberforce and Clarkson. He hires African-American scholar Prince Saunders to oversee his schools, and he funds Andrews with money. He sends him to London with $6,000 for teacher salaries and advances and travel expenses to come to Haiti to teach Haitian people, Haitian students. He provides housing for his teachers in his own palaces until their housing is built. The British teachers who arrive in Haiti are trained by the British and Foreign School Society in the John Lancaster system, introduced in 1798, that allowed one teacher to teach as many as 1,000 students with perfect ease. Here is one of his letters to Clarkson. My deepest ambition has been to obtain for the nation which has entrusted me its destiny the benefits of public instruction. I'm completely dedicated to this project. The buildings required for these institutions in the cities and rural areas are under construction. I await the teachers and craftsmen for whom I asked, who will undertake the training of our youth. If God grants me time enough, I hope that the people of Haiti, overcoming the odious prejudice that has so long oppressed them, will astonish the world with their knowledge. He started building the citadel as a project with Dessalines, and both men decided they would never try to defend the island from the coast, but from the interior, as the Maroons had done. He found the perfect site for his fort at a locale known as La Pique des Ferrières, a mountain rising 3,000 feet above sea level. The fortress he dreamt of would house and support 10,000 soldiers and keep them nourished for up to a year. He also built 7 palaces, 15 chateaux, all surrounded by fertile land, which produced, among other things, 2/3 of the kingdom's sugar export. So Marie-Louise could have more sugar than she needed. He sold everything for gold, increasing his personal wealth and the national treasury. And here was a picture of the Citadel, which is designated as a World Heritage Site. It was commissioned in 1805, as we mentioned, and finished in 1820, the year of his death, and is the largest fortress in the Western Hemisphere. Here is how Henri appeared to an American visitor, and perhaps this gives us an insight on how he was actually perceived by his subjects. And this man is writing in 1819. Christophe is every day adding to the discontent and terror of his subjects. His soldiers are treated with extreme severity for every real or imagined fault. And they seek for an occasion to abandon his service and gain asylum in the territory of his rival, where life is easier. Meanwhile, the Republic of the South is rapidly deteriorating. Pétion and Boyer allow folks to live as they wish, and so they go from great estates to tiny plots of land, to debt, to crime, from enterprise to sloth. The North, however, flourishes, but its cultivators are also unhappy with the restrictions placed on them by the rural codes of the king. Many of his cultivators escape south to the ease and poverty offered by the mulatto leaders of Port-au-Prince. The army is unhappy. The soldiers of one of his regiments in the town of Saint-Marc complained of hard work, harsh discipline, and low pay, and upset about how Henry sometimes disrespected their commanders. His key generals were unhappy, but their gripes were gripes of ambition. In 1820, he was 63 years old and suffered a massive stroke while attending a mass in honor of his beloved wife. Somewhat aware of what was going on, he called for his carriage, but could barely stand or even speak. A cerebral hemorrhage had paralyzed his entire right side. By nightfall, news spread that the king was a powerless cripple. His soldiers were the first to rebel, crying, "Liberty, independence, no king, no nobility, no tyranny, down Christophe." The king lay paralyzed in Sanssouci Palace, while the soldiers looted and set fire to the plantations that were the backbone of the economy. In the palace, Henry tried to rally. He ordered the making of a boiling rum-based liquor known as sauce timalis, and bathed in the burning hot solution. Somehow he did manage with great effort to move his crippled limbs. He put on his uniform and he made his way to the forecourt where his 1,200-man royal guard paraded. He called for his horse and tried to mount the horse, but he fell face first in front of his horrified soldiers. He tried again the following day, summoning his soldiers to address them while being propped up by one of his aides. He raised their pay to 4 goods, charging them to quell the insurrections that were destroying the kingdom. They set off, but they were met in town by 5,000 rebelling soldiers. The royal guard broke ranks, they threw away their arms, and they joined the rebels. When Henri was informed, he knew what he had to do. He dressed in his army uniform, he called for his wife and children, and kissed them goodbye, and then ushered them from his room. Along with his physician, Duncan Stewart, he reached for a loaded pistol and asked for the location of his heart. Marie-Louise had her husband's body carried to the Citadel where it was dipped in quicklime so it would not be totally mutilated. Boyer, who's in Port-au-Prince, immediately left Port-au-Prince for Cap Haitien, where he took full possession of the king's entire treasury of $11 million. Queen Marie-Louise was exiled with her daughters to London and eventually to Pisa, Italy, where she outlived them both and died in 1851. And this is the aftermath of these occasions. Prince Sanders writes in 1823, since the extension of what is called the Republic, all confidence is destroyed. The people who live under the governments of Pétion and Boyer are at least 20 years behind the people of the kingdom. The numerous schools and academies established throughout the king's dominions are abolished. The buildings torn down. Victor Schorcher, an abolitionist friend of Christophe, who's also a sociologist who visited in 1841, says, here is the capital, foul public squares, ruined monuments, dwellings of plank and thatch, tottering wharves, no names on streets, no numbers on doorways, no streetlights, no paving anywhere, the ground underfoot composed of dust and excrement on which walking is impossible after an hour's rain. What disorder, what general ruin. Before his death, Henri published articles in Europe celebrating the downfall of Napoleon and congratulating a new regime and welcoming French commerce with Haiti as a free state, ready to do business. But, said he, if on the contrary, our enemies, the French colonists, persuade the French to send another expedition, we will show the nations of the earth what a warlike people can accomplish in defense of their homes, wives, their children, and independence. He also issued a manifesto in 1814 to the nations of the world, explaining the causes of the Haitian Revolution, Haiti's loyalty to France via Toussaint Louverture, and the many betrayals of Napoleon and Leclerc, and concludes, we will never become a party to any treaty, any condition that may compromise the honor, the liberty, or the independence of the Haitian people. King Christophe was right about former colonists forcing the hand of the new administration to reclaim Saint-Domingue. In 3 years, Boyer and his government ran through the entire surplus they inherited from Henry's kingdom. And by 1823, the Republic's treasury was totally empty. Boyer was approached on the issue of the debt to former French colonists after Henry's death. Charles X of France required 150 million francs as compensation for losses and control of Haiti's foreign relations. He sent his request to Haiti and to Boyer's administration on March 17, 1825, in the hands of 2 admirals, backed by 494 guns on 14 warships. Boyer, of course, accepted the terms. And on this, I conclude my presentation and welcome your questions.
Thank you, Steve. I don't know where to start. I'm pretty sure that you were listening, you were watching, and you have a question. We will.
I'll share the screen again so folks can see the beautiful citadel. Or should I not share the screen so we can see each other's faces?
Yeah, yes.
Should I not share?
Parce que vous avez une question et n'a pas de pause, we take a pause, a pause in music. We have a very short presentation of from La Cucajou. And that's very interesting, and we'll play some music before we start with the question. Then you can put your question on the chat to make it easier. Again, thank you all for being with us. We will continue with some music. Then we'll start with the questions. As I said, I'm pretty sure that you have questions. I do have questions. That was a wonderful job, Steve, as usual. We really appreciate your support, your help in sharing Haitian history with us.
Let me apologize for not doing it in Creole, but my Creole is not long enough, so I'll have to dedicate more time to practice, so I can do it justice in my native tongue.
Sounds good.
But it will happen. We will have the Creole version at some point.
All right. Okay, let's see what we have here. Can you see my screen?
No.
No. Okay. All right, so it should be good now.
Okay.
Nope. Let's try again, and we'll be good here. Okay, it's good now?
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Nous étions sur le monde, et puis nous étions en l'air, c'est citadelle la ferrière, puis gros fort pays d'Haïti. Papa me servi avec choix pour l'aider touristes à monter dans tête monde. Pour y avoir la citadelle là, les moi pas à l'école, parfois me connais la veille. Papa m'a pour moi, marcher avec Franco, rive dans sentier la citadelle là. Aucune machine pas autorisée à monter en l'air. Qui donc, c'est là nous venons chercher touristes. Sous citadelle là, il y a des musiciens qui ont instrument qui ont fait avec plante de jeunes dans la forêt. Ou un tambour à jouer, et puis garder longueur en conne avec tambour à jouer. Vous connaissez qui ça m'a pensé là? Différentes formes qui ont instruments musicaux. Moi, ouais, silène avec sec. Est-ce que vous voyez? Ouais, c'est monter dans tête maintenant pour être capable de construire cette citadelle là. C'est la moins pire mais garder citadelle là. Regardez Jean Libel. Les ou garder li là, il semblait wow et puis jam mais sans pire mais garder dans citadelle là, c'est que li fait avec un paquet de formes. Là on fait paraître sous citadelle là ou un peu silène belle ou terre. Là va avancer plus, on pourrait plusieurs triangles qui rectangle tout. Et puis là, c'est un gros carré. Touristes descendent choisir pour marcher visiter la citadelle. Papa me prend code là même et puis livre mal joué. Parfois moi je viens dans la citadelle là et puis m'imaginer que c'est roi Christophe. Quelques autres fois, moi propose ma défendre Haïti. Je dis à moi imaginer que m'a bâti la citadelle pour me protéger Haïti. Et vous-même, qui fait mourir? Et va tirer, même moi, même monter la citadelle.
cheval là, mettez cheval là. Va filer sur cheval là.
Moi, c'est général Toussaint l'ouverture. Mais cette plus belle parole de Téti. Moi, c'est un soldat. En étant papa, mon Dieu, qui est dans le ciel là. Je ne vais pas faire personne. Si je veux mourir, je vais mourir en soldat. Pas de rien pour me reprocher tête. Nous qu'à comprendre. Attends, c'est pas coronavirus qui t'est camion en plume soudain. Depuis que je savon pour me laver même. Yon masque dans figim. Ak yon gant, côté que ma baille chaque monde 6 pas de distance. Wadim, si corona pas jeune à son grandi.
Moi, c'est l'emploi de Saline. Net voyant. Qui pas fait battre même devant Jean Laurent. Craminer la refrossette. Pour m'bailler en liberté, nous. Je ne dis pas. Levé campé. Vinti nous. Bataille la pirate. Ennemi en pas petit. La coupé. La braché. Comme tonné. Il y a le corona. Aïe aïe aïe. C'est lui. C'est moi tout. Mais vinti nous. Tout le monde qui perd pour le bac casser couille. Habitation en branche. Mais si là, qui décide de marcher pour un quoi, corona, gonfler, c'est bon bon côté. Condition, c'est.
Take it out.
Avec nous.
Yeah, I usually before I pull everything out.
Parlez bouche nous. Parlez nous. Là, on prend dehors. Si spon bratafia, j'achète à feuille d'habitation. Dis corona. Mais quoi, maman? Mais quoi, maman? Si vous êtes capable, une pile, c'est moi après de Saline qui dit nous ça.
Si ensemble nous te mettons, pour nous te faire drapeau ça. Qui c'est symbole liberté. 217 l'année après, nous finissons créer drapeau ça. C'est mieux pour nous mettre, pour nous combattre ennemis invisibles ça. Qui c'est coronavirus. Moi-même, Catherine Flon, m'a demandé nous appliquer même formule là. Qui c'est propreté, laver-mains, respecter distance yon ak l'autre, et protéger sa sécurité.
Corona! Salana! Dans l'autre, tout depuis qu'on a. Même qu'à pour la mort, il pas jamais battre pas nous pour la mort. Demandez-nous. On applique pour le visage. Pour notre tactique. Ne pas prendre un coup de pic. On a qu'à la gaine dans mes rats. Dis-nous, femme pour passer l'habitation. On continue de faire propre. Mettez masque. Mettez à distance. Pour ne pas prendre un sale matata. Venez, Corona.
Bagay la show la nou gen Steve de Ozier sou gitar. Et moi-même c'est votre nous Michel Haitian Campbell qui là. Qui va chanter mon son maman de Evelyn Michel. Vite danser maman moi. A danser maman moi. M'kabaucha maman moi. Pa kape ou sa moi moi. Vite danser maman moi. Fais sourire maman moi. M'kabaucha maman moi. Pa kape ou sa moi moi. Sou filet. En pile bagay du parti. Le passé côté me sorti. C'est pas seulement miracle nature. Libre l'amour ça dépassé. Pour voir ça qui dépensé. Car non, mon quotidien le possédé. Mon son maman, boy. Vite dans ces moments, ouais. Car dans ces moments, ouais. Kabaja, maman, ouais. Pas capté, ça, ouais. Vite dans ces moments, ouais. Fais sourire, maman, ouais. Kabaja, maman, ouais. Pas capté, ça, ouais. Ma cadéo. Tout cheveux blancs est en poussé. Papa soupe, papa ou brisel, avec un papa. Ou pas j'aime comme pour maman. Contre ça, écrit accent. Tout a pas été en il a ses mamans, ouais. Car dans ses mamans, ouais. Gabacha, maman, ouais. Pas capté, ça, ouais. Il a ses mamans, ouais. Fais sourire, maman, ouais. Gabacha, maman, ouais. Pas capté, ça, ouais. Quand Louis, quelque chose s'est passé dans la vie, ça quitté la caille partie, mamie, pour même pour la pitié. Oui, maman chérie, où c'est un coup de crayon sans gâtis, m'a des questions chercher réponse, maman voyez raison. C'est maman, c'est maman, c'est maman. Voilà. Voilà quand l'oubli, quelque chose s'est passé dans la vie. Ça quitté la caille partie, mamie, pour même pour la pitié. Oui, maman chérie, où c'est un coup de crayon sans gâtis. M'a des questions chercher réponse, maman voyez raison. Quand l'oubli, quelque chose s'est passé dans la vie. Ça quitté la caille partie, mamie, pour même pour la pitié. Oui, maman chérie, où c'est un coup de crayon sans gâtis. M'a des questions chercher réponse, maman voyez raison. Oh. Où c'est maman, où c'est maman, où c'est maman. We're pas capé, you know. Come on, ensemble a dit, ma des questions chercher réponse, maman va lever encore. Pendant qu'on l'ouvrit, quelque chose s'est passé dans la vie, ça a quitté la carte, dit, mamie, ou même pour la vie. Oui, maman chérie, ou c'est un coup de caillou sans gâti, ma des questions chercher réponse, maman va lever oh. Où c'est maman, c'est maman, c'est maman. Moi pas capable non. Merci maman, moi. Merci, merci maman. Merci maman, moi. Merci, merci maman.
C'est ça. Et célébration a continué. Il fait 7h39. C'est le moment pour nous répondre à la question pour gagner.
You're on mute.
Moi, Daphne écrit Steve, a man with many talents. He's a musician, historian, educator. On va un petit bravo pour Steve. On ouvre la caméra pour nous montrer Steve, nous apprécier le travail qu'il fait. We have learned a lot about King Henry Christophe, and the musician has shared some love on the guitar.
What's your volume is so low? I don't know why.
What about now?
Better.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so just a round of applause for Steve Desrosiers. So if you have any question now, questions, you can mettre des questions dans le chat room là. Pendant que nous bat bravo, nous applaudissons Steve pour le bel travail qu'il fait. Donc, si vous avez une question, please feel free to ask a question now. It's 7:40. We're here until 8 p.m. Again, we'll have the second celebration on the 21st at the same time with the same link on the 27th as well. Donc, c'est même lien à utiliser pour 21 et 27 et n'a toujours une belle ambiance comme ça. Le 21, c'est avec HLCC, et également YoFest et Nehemiah Project for Hope. Et puis, pour nous finir, on a fini avec Petite New York qui est de Matahant, côté qu'on a bien musique, danse, poésie, et c'est par le bel bagaille le 27. Et puis, une belle présentation avec Marie-Joëlle Auguste. Donc, ou même qui l'a, je dis, faire plan pour Kaplan dans toutes deux sessions Kaplan pour venir, 21 et 27. For the 21st and the 27th, if you are here with us now, we hope to see you again next Friday and following Thursday. If you have any question now, please feel free to ask your questions. I don't see any questions on the chat yet, but you can add your questions, or you can just open your mic to ask any question. And
there's a question to Steve. Steve Desrosiers, can you teach the student at the dual language how to play the
So it's the guitar, huh? I'm going to have to find a way to make it happen, right? Even because I don't think you're going to let me not do it. So we will find a way.
We want them to play with you next time. So you have to teach them how to play it.
Okay, you and I can discuss this. We're going to have to settle a meeting so that we can see how we can negotiate something for the kiddos.
Never a dull moment, Evos. Never a dull moment.
Pendant que nous avons réfléchi à la question, il y a quelques informations que je vais partager avec nous entre temps. Pensez à la question. Et je ne te dis pas qu'il y a une seule activité et que nous avons vu aujourd'hui autour de célébration héritage. We have other events. We have more events, more activities going on around the celebration of the Haitian Heritage Month. Nous avons aujourd'hui un drapeau nous monté devant mairie Boston. Et puis, demain 15 ans, nous avons gagné une rencontre sous Zoom. Et côté que nous avons gagné une équipe qui a une belle présentation, promotion langue créole. Nous ne connaissons pas si Lionel là, Lionel a pas plus de détails dans ce sens ça pour nous, c'est là. Donc, c'est demain 15 mai entre 6h et 8h. Donc, c'est Patrick Sylvain, qui est un monde qui a fait un doctorat dans l'université, dans Brandeis University, qui a bien pour faire présenter sur un sujet comme ça, qui c'est crise mounance et mondance. Donc, haïtien politique dans récheminement colonial.
Ouais.
Politique dans récheminement colonial. Lionel, vous pouvez ajouter pour nous, s'il vous plaît?
Bon, c'est une activité qui commençait depuis en octobre année passée, dans mois créole, et que nous continuons comme ça. Une fois ou bien 2 fois par mois, nous faisons une présentation pour promotion langue créole haïtienne. Tant qu'on dit à demain, c'est Patrick Sylvain et mon boy ici qui n'en nous cap pour le présenter sous héritage recheminement colonial. Non. Donc, si nous allons sur le site web créole, kreyol.org, nous avons le lien Zoom là, et que c'est toujours même, nous toujours servi avec depuis en octobre pour nous présenter toute activité. Donc, nous avons tout le monde, nous avons en pile monde demain parce que Patrick gagne la jacoterie. Merci.
Et puis, nous gagnons également Haitian Arts Exhibition, c'est contribution Gilbert Albert Community Center and the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. Donc, c'est pour vendredi 21 mai, samedi 22 et puis dimanche 23. Donc, c'est Gilbert Albert Community Center qui est invité pour rejoindre avec une belle activité, exposition peinture haïtienne. Et c'est pas le bel bagaille, 21, 22, 23 mai qui va venir là. Nous croyons que Caroline là, elle a nous plus de détails dans le cadre screening of Madame Sarah, that's a documentary. Caroline désire si là de AFAB et brièvement faire un instant pour nous pendant que nous avons une question.
Et merci, Bodi. Bonsoir tout le monde. Certainement, mois de mai, nous avons pile d'activités. Il y en a, c'est pour célébrer maman. Non seulement maman ici, maman dans le pays d'Haïti, qui contribue en pile à tout. Nous-mêmes là, si on formons l'autre, nous tous gagnons un héritage, Madame Sarah Soufflé, alors son documentaire qui fait par Étendu Pain. Et documenter ça, c'est un gros effort pour montrer comment Madame Sarah joue un rôle extrêmement important dans l'économie pays d'Haïti. C'est dimanche 30 mai à 6h p.m. Nous attendons tout le monde. Si nous avons besoin de plus d'informations, relève dans 617 947 42 79. Merci.
Merci.
Excusez, Patrick, tout après c'était belle poésie pour nous. Patrick Sylvain qui a présenté demain.
Sounds good. Thank you. Pastor Kiki, if you're there, I know you've been promoting a lot of activities around the Haitian Heritage Month. Could you please briefly just share with us if you are there? And if you have a question, please, nous pouvons écrire sur ce chat room là, ask your question, put it in the chat. Pasteur Kiki, est-ce que là? Apparemment que le pasteur Kiki parle avec nous pour le moment. Entre-temps, nous avons rappelé, je ne te dis l'avant, je dis c'est 14 mai, nous avons fait Haitian History avec Steve Desrosiers, et côté que les vraiment expliqué dans pile de bagaille sur question de leadership, gros travail que Wa Christophe t'a fait, Wa Henri Christophe. Et présentement, nous, alors le 21, vendredi 21, l'autre vendredi, nous avons gagné Expression of Haiti. With the participation of HLCC, Your First Neymar Project for Hope, it will be as beautiful. That will be again May 21st from 6 to 8. We will be using the same link. It will be a beautiful event, same as tonight. On the 27th as well, we will be celebrating with the Matterhorn School, Matterhorn home of Toussaint Louverture Academy. From 6 to 8 again. You don't want to miss that. And also we'll have a great presentation with Miss Mary Joël Auguste. Please be there. Okay, now, question que nous gagnons, nous avons une question, nous étions quoi que vous gagnez question, please.
C'est une belle question que Daphne a posée et malheureusement, moi, répondu sur le chat. Non? Mais question, okay. Maintenant, mais je connais une présentation en fait en anglais. Mais question était mettre créole, m'a fait petit créole conversationnel. Même si je vois petit mao here and there. Daphne demande qui livre que élève t'a utiliser pour commencer à apprendre de l'histoire ça yo. Bon, dès qu'on c'était pour l'étape demandé. Son ballon c'est le livre qui tête chargé, mais un livre qui est très important qui gagne Henri là-dedans, qui bat un petit morceau dans l'histoire ça qui est les Black Heroes of the American Revolution. Mais qui gagne histoire Henri là-dedans. OK? Et c'est l'effort qu'on fait pour commencer à apprendre de héros ça de monde ça qui étaient non seulement qui étaient dans bataille ni Haïti ni en Amérique du Sud pour nous commencer à assurer que petit nous va venir là que qu'on l'histoire ça et que l'histoire ça tout a inspiré yo. Je crois que les a regardé Henri Christophe n'a regardé un mec qui était inspiré par monde qui était avant lui. Il était inspiré de Dessalines, il était inspiré de toutes ces ouvertures. Il était inspiré de mouvement, même si que les mêmes tout le temps travail pour colon à le moment. Mais c'est un monde qui t'a regardé des inspirations. Monsieur pas haïtien, monsieur a cherché, c'est la ville a cherché dans le pays, mais monsieur gagne histoire là qui vivre autour de lui-même. Et je crois que pour tout le monde peut jouer l'inspiration par eux. Et il est très important pour commencer à faire une lecture, ça pour découvrir l'histoire pays. Nous pas un plus bon livre sur l'histoire d'Haïti qui nécessairement est avalable facile, mais au cas où ça en anglais est très bon et nous crois un pays Canada tout et même pas parler français, mais pas parler tout, nous crois un paquet de bons livres qui est écrit déjà, mais point de vue boy ici, je recommander nous ça. And I see some of my American friends are here with me. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you for coming and checking out the lecture. I'm sorry about all the heavy, academic language, but hopefully you got the gist of the adventure of this young man who went from being practically an orphan for most of his life to finding his way in Haiti to becoming king of the country. Right, and one of its best warriors and one of its best thinkers and one of its greatest thinkers, and who left behind a legacy that rivaled, what was done in other great nations. So I was pleased and honored to present his life today. So thank you for coming to hear it.
Okay. Est-ce que pas gagne l'autre monde qui gagne une question ou bien commentaire? If anyone has a question or want to make a comment, please feel free to do so. It's 7:50. We will let you go exactly at 8 p.m. Thank you for choosing to be with us to celebrate our flag, our values, music, dance, and the beautiful history of Haiti with Steve DeRosier.
It looks like we have a question in the chat.
Yes, we have a question in the chat. I don't see it yet. Just 1 second, please. Okay. Si on me question well, I'm sorry.
All the way down. So, Steve, you studied so much about King Henri Christophe. Have you ever visited Sans Souci and the Citadel in person? I have not. It's one of my dreams in life.
C'est pas avec plaisance oui, pourquoi
c'est avec plaisance moi oui. C'est avec plaisance moi. It's a shame, but I was, you're taking my pays à toi bonheur. I left Haiti before I had the opportunity, unfortunately, but hopefully in the very near future, when things calm down, I would love nothing more than to walk by foot. I don't even want to take the donkey. I want to walk up that steep mountain.
The donkey ride is really good, though.
Is it good? No, I want to do it by foot. And
it's beautiful. You must go.
I have to, and I want to sleep in there.
Yeah, well, I don't think they let you sleep, but it's fantastic. But it's fantastic.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Great job, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, I did it on food. Fantastic. Somebody, just walked all the way up there. So that was Joseph. Joseph, thank you. Joseph lui-même les marché et puis tout monter sur cette mode là. Je pense que il y a l'autre moyen qu'on y a là avec moi puis mon monter à moto, on est sur arriver jusqu'en haut à moto. But if you are a walker, you can do that. Or took a donkey. I think it would be a beautiful ride.
So one of the things I want to share with everybody, partager avec Haïtien, c'est after the death of Henri, I think folks don't appreciate how close we came to France actually taking the country back. They absolutely, Louis XVII had every intention to go back to Haiti after Napoleon to take it and to re-enslave people exactly as he saw fit, right? They hadn't lost every island in the Caribbean yet, but what happens to Boyer is that he avoids this because he agrees to pay all this money to Charles. What happened was that Louis died and Charles took over. Charles was not interested in Haiti as much, but he wanted the money. So he was like, if you pay us and give us access to your foreign relations, you can not deal with our gunboats. But we came very, very close to being right back to square one.
Wonderful.
And honey was really the only protection that we really had. So it could have been a very, we could have been Guadeloupe or Martinique.
Est-ce que pas penser c'est pas veut dire lack of leadership qui fait que soldats yo, esclaves yo, ou du moins pas veut dire esclaves yo, mais gens qui t'a travaillé, ils vont côté révolté. Do you think it's not a lack of leadership because things were changing at that time? The soldiers, they didn't see things the same way it was before.
That's right.
And so they stood up. Do you think it was, I don't want to say lack of leadership, but it should evaluate the situation or make an assessment before, it couldn't keep going the same way, to have them work the same schedule, because that wasn't the way that they used to do before, to work before.
Yeah, very good point. Remember, Christophe is not a college-educated man. He's figuring it out as he's going along, and he's doing the very best he can. And he's trying to figure it out. How do I protect my island? What do I do if France comes back with guns? How do I build an economy? How am I going to pay for these schools? The only real weapon he had was the discipline and the work ethic of the people, because that's how he got money. That's how he was able to build a navy. That's how he was able to pay for the citadel. So he was severe with everybody, including his family, right? But there was really no other way. What else are you going to do? Because you're surrounded by enemies. And it's almost like you're the only one who realizes how dangerous your situation is, because the only friend Haiti had at the time was the British. And the British were not going to fight the French on behalf of Haiti. He kept begging them to give him notice if France ever decides to come back. But Haiti was alone. And
Right.
Christophe was the only Black leader who was concerned for the welfare of the Blacks, because the mulattoes were concerned with the welfare of the mulattoes. So they had no problem if France came back. They knew they weren't going back on a plantation.
Oui.
Right?
Et Steve,
oui.
Pour jouer à visiter Citadelle, là, on fait ça rapide. Pour qui ça? Parce que le complexe roi Henri t'est créé. T'es une citadelle, t'es un palais sans souci, et t'es ou l'église tout. Chapelle sans souci. Mais qui malheureusement, année passée, en avril, liboulé. Donc, ça veut dire que, et puisque même le gagnissement qui a protégé le monument, mais bagay tellement difficile que gen l'autre bagay qui peut je fait. Donc m'a demandé est-ce que monument ça yo pas en danger parce que UNESCO ou Baléa pas sous bon nous encore.
C'est vrai.
Yo l'autre information et peut-être 5 ou 6 ans ça République dominicaine te mettait Citadelle la Ferrière l'entour touristique était offert pour Haïti. Donc, ça veut dire que dès qu'on prend un bus qui sortit en République dominicaine, quand c'est Porto Plata, aller à Haïti, c'est toujours y aller visiter Citadelle et puis retourner à dormir en République dominicaine. C'était très bien, mais ça veut dire que c'était dominicain qui t'a joué. Bruit de travail, choix de galonné. Donc, il y a un aspect, ça, pour comprendre, c'est un joyau qui l'emmène nous. Nous capables de faire comme avec, mais nous pas tellement aimer wash. Vous comprenez?
Eh bien, nous dit tout le monde merci. Steve, par contre, si vous voulez ajouter, mais nous voulons enfin, j'aime te promettre que nous avons fini à 8h. Nous allons quitter avec une belle musique de Joey Homicile, qui est un ancien musique professeur dans l'école publique Boston. et puis il étudie également à Berkeley College of Music. So we will leave you tonight to have a wonderful weekend with Joey Omisil. He used to be a music professor at Boston, music teacher at Boston Public School, and he studied as well at Berkeley College in Boston. Now he's living in France, so he had shared with us a beautiful piece that we'll share with you now. And we thank you all for taking time to share the moment with us. Haitian Heritage Month. It is your month. It is your celebration. We'll see you again next Friday at the same time. Please use the same link. And if you have any comments, recommendation, or suggestion, please feel free to do so. You can just leave it on the chat or give us a call. Thank you so much. Steve, if you don't have anything you want to add, we'll play some music to end tonight, and we'll see you again next Friday.
Excellent. I just want to take a minute to thank everybody for being here, and really appreciate your presence and starting off the celebration with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, greetings. Ça passe, frères et sœurs. How you doing? All happy Haitian Heritage Month. In this time where we're fighting the corona plague, and we are all masked. I take this time to talk to you guys and rip off my mask and let you know that we're going to get closer and we're going to celebrate together. This is the time where we can get close to the heart. Thank you. You will myself. This is a song I wrote long time ago, but it's still valid. It's for my people.